If you're new, if you're new here, just in case you haven't figured it out, I'm Pastor Colleen. I'm glad you can all be with us today. Like I said, it's an awful cold day, but we're glad it's nice and warm in here. And today we are in the third Sunday of Advent. And the one thing we want to emphasize today from the skit and from everybody here is that Jesus came to be with us. As Eric said earlier in the opening, Emmanuel means God with us. He came for everyone, and that's what our skit was emphasizing today. That is the message of Advent, Jesus coming to us, and that we're preparing for his return. The term shepherd in Scripture is often used in the Old Testament, and it's often speaking about the priests and those that are shepherding the people of Israel. And in the New Testament, often Jesus is referred to as the Good Shepherd. And you look at, there's so many different pictures out there of who Jesus is with the sheep and how he takes care of them. A shepherd's job is to take care of the sheep. Now, in modern times, we think of a guy in a camper kind of. He usually has a dog or two that do all the herding, and he does it all by himself. But in this time period, it was often a family or a group of people that worked together because they didn't have herding dogs. And they were responsible for keeping the sheep together, getting them to water, getting them to safe places. They had to protect them and watch over them. That's what that crook was for. It was to beat off the predators that might come, or it was to help get them where they needed to be. And so it took often a large family or a few families if it was a very large flock. In today's skit, the shepherd is searching for his lost lamb, Eli. And he's looking for him and bringing him back into the fold. And in today's skit, we see that as a picture of Jesus Christ, gathering up all of his sheep and lambs and getting that, and we are those sheep. We are the ones that need to be gathered together and cared for. So as we look at this third Sunday of Advent and this season of Advent, that's the picture of Jesus for you and me. He's come to gather us, to carry us, to get us back to himself. So as we look at that, our skit began today with Mary and Joseph enjoying some peace and quiet. You know, those of you that have ever babysat little ones or have little ones, nap time or bedtime was something you looked forward to, right? Remember those days when you finally got them to sleep? And you think, And here in the nativity scene, that was the case. Jesus is sleeping, and because last week Jesus was crying almost the whole scene, whole skit. This time he's asleep, and Mary and Joseph are enjoying some peace and quiet. And then we hear Eli, we hear a shepherd, we hear a cat screeching. All this noise, all this commotion, and this chaos is happening, and oh no, the baby's going to wake up. And it just seemed like, even though everything started good, now everything hit the fan. I think of that a lot. It seems like that happens a lot. Best laid plans, they say. You have everything going the way you want it, and everything is quieted or it's peaceful, and then everything goes wrong. And that happens in life a lot. No more smoothly laid out plan, no more peace, only chaos and agitation. And I get the agitation part. I get all stressed out and want to do these things. It happened last Friday. I got to church early. I thought, I'm going to get everything done on my schedule today. So I got started, and then I had a Zoom call, and that worked out good. Everything, our new internet here is going really well. I didn't have to worry about freezing up or anything, and I was able to meet with my friend in Idaho about, she's a fellow pastor, and we serve together so we can encourage each other, and that went good. But as soon as I hung up the phone or got off the Zoom, I think I had 3 texts and 2 phone calls. But I had another meeting to be to. And I thought, how am I going to get to Rochester and answer all these? And I stopped and answered the phone calls. Some of them were new people, so I needed to address those. And it was my mom, and I felt bad, kept texting her, I'm going to be late. I'm coming, but I'm on my way. I'm going to get there. And then the next meeting, of course, was late too, because then we had lunch and then we went shopping and then I was late some more. I just hate being late all the time. And I hate feeling that rush thing. And as I sat down with my second meeting of ladies in a step study, I just went, and took that deep breath and collected myself. And the rest of the evening went fine. But that's the way we feel sometimes. Our plans don't always work the way we want them to do. And that's the way real life is all the time. The shepherd was looking for his missing sheep. And he returns. And as you watched Eli, the shepherd, pick up his sheep, he carried that lamb. He didn't just shove him up. He didn't just push him up there or drag him up there. He held him close to his chest. He carried him and gathered him and watched over him. And as Joseph observed this entire exchange where the shepherd says, you know I'd go to the ends of the earth for you, little guy. Joseph looked at that and he came to him in a moment, the lesson that is for us today. This Advent, we get to remind people that Jesus has come for them. We get to tell them that Jesus is going after everybody, even the loud, obnoxious sheep. He isn't picky. He wants all of us. He wants everyone. And he wants us to know that as well, to know that there is no one excluded, because he wants to carry every single person close to his heart. That's the gospel. And he wants us to be the ones that help deliver it. Jesus doesn't only welcome well-behaved sheep, the ones that are already doing everything right. He doesn't just welcome the rich ones. He didn't come just for the Hebrew ones. He didn't just come for the people in the church. He didn't just come for everybody that looks like us. He came for every single person. And as we look at all that, we realize that sometimes we are that loud, obnoxious sheep. And we're certainly glad he came for us. Because sometimes we're the ones that are messing somebody else's plans up. There's been days where we've had to call somebody and say, hey, I need some help here. I need some prayer. Not everything is going the way I want it. Please pray for me. Or we've been the one that's late and making everybody else late. And we just go through that stuff. And you and I have disrupted that peaceful nativity scene for somebody at some point in our lives. And they have done it for us. As a follower of the shepherd, I've been there. And if you're honest, you've been there too. We have wandered and discovered that our shepherd, Jesus Christ, doesn't love us despite our wanderings. He loves us in the midst of our wanderings. And he desires to carry us home. And today, we're going to look at 4 aspects of Jesus' shepherding care over us. He is the shepherd who seeks. He comes looking for us. He comes looking for you. He is the shepherd who lifts. He carries you when you can't walk. He is the shepherd who unites. He gathers all kinds into one flock. And he is the shepherd who holds close. He keeps us near his heart. So we look at Jesus as a shepherd who seeks. You know, if let's look at Luke 15, verses 4 to 7. It'll be up on the screen. And so at chapter 15, verses 4 to 7. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, because I have found my lost sheep." In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. You know, if you're a business person, the math on this doesn't work very good. Because you think, well, he had 99. He only lost one. Why spend all that manpower and that time looking for one lost sheep? You know, cut your losses. Let it go. Odds are it's dead anyway, or you're not going to be able to find it. And we look at that, and any MBA program is going to tell you that that would be smart resource management. Stick with the 99 and just make sure you don't lose any more. and just keep on going. But Jesus turns it upside down. This shepherd, and remember, Jesus is talking about God the Father, says if just one wanders off and is lost, he goes, I don't care about the math. I care about that one. I want him, her, back in the fold. I want them back home. And I love how it says in there that it says, and he won't leave, he leaves the 99, and when he has found it, he doesn't just go out part way like some of my kids when they were supposed to be looking for something that they lost, and they would maybe give it 5 minutes. Oh, I can't find it. You know, we tend to just, we do that because, it's just too much work. Here it says, when he found it, he kept looking until he got it, and he brought him home. And for the first century shepherd, that was kind of what they did have to do. That's why they had a group of shepherds. They were probably leaving somebody else there with the 99. They weren't just leaving them to run off as well. And they would go and look for that one, but they would have to stay put until he got back. And so that's what we're looking at, is somebody that is willing to go and get that one. And it was messy business. Being a shepherd wasn't easy, wasn't a fun thing to do. It was a job that somebody had to do, and they did it. And as we look at that, we just see, that he continued on the path to pick up that lamb. When you wander, and we all do at times, God doesn't shrug and say, well, I tried. I'm just going to let him go. I give up. I'm not going to go after him anymore. He doesn't do that. He searches until he finds you. And I think of that when I was wandering and running off. I didn't even know I was lost, but he was sending people into my lives. And as I always believe, my grandparents were praying for me to become, that somebody was anyway, because there were many times I got rescued and brought back before I realized what was going on. And I think that happens with us. And I think that's one of the reasons that prayer is so important, and intercession for other people. Because we can pray that God will bring somebody else across their path, especially as parents of prodigals. We have a tough time wondering if we should keep badgering, if we should keep asking them and telling them and trying to push them and force them to get back to church or get back to their faith. But we can pray for them. And God can send people into their lives that they're going to listen to probably better than their parents. Or circumstances, especially if they're already believers, circumstances that they'll push them back to the cross. And so that is so important that we do that. So in our skit, the shepherd doesn't hesitate to leave. He leaves the scene and he goes and finds Eli. And he knows Eli, the sheep, good enough that he knows where he probably is. He knows what he likes to do. God knows you like that too. He knows you. He knows where you get stuck. He knows your weaknesses. He knows all about you. In Matthew 10:30, it says, even the very hairs on your head are numbered. He knows how much hair is on your head. He knows a lot of intimate details about you. And guess what? He loves you anyway. He loves all about you. He knows all about you. He knows your patterns. The psalmist wrote, he knows how we are formed, and he remembers that we are dust. He knows us. So he knows where we get stuck. He sends people and things to us. He's given us his word. He continues to remind us how much he loves us. He is there for us. So maybe you've been away from the church for a while. Maybe you have wandered away from your faith. Maybe you think you've wandered so far that God has given up on you. Maybe you've gotten to the place that you're coming because you know you're supposed to, but I just don't think this is my thing. This shepherd doesn't work like that. God never gives up on his children. He doesn't give up on his sheep. He is not willing that any should perish. So he is going to do all he can to continue to bring them back. Hope, how are you? So as we look at ourselves and apply it to our own lives, this shepherding experience, how are you at seeking lost people in your own circles of friends? How are you at that? Do you give up on them? Do you quit asking them? Do you quit going? Do you quit praying for them? Just say, "Oh, it's just no use. There's no hope. They'll never change. They've made their choice. I give up." But we need to adopt that shepherd's heart that will keep praying, that will keep asking. They say it takes like 11 invites to get somebody to go to church with you. That's a lot of invites. So keep it up. Don't give up, because it feels like you're a broken record sometimes. But keep at it. Keep asking. Keep showing up for them. And so how do you continue to do that? But do it with genuine love. Don't do it because you think you have to. Do it because you love them and you genuinely care about them. So what if we pursued relationships with the same tenacity that a shepherd pursues a lost lamb, a lost sheep? We go till we find them. Find a way to identify with them, to encourage them. So how do we measure success as a church? Do we look at numbers? Do we look at attendance? Do we look at how many people show up to the Bible study, the youth group, the kids program, all those things? Is that how we define success as a church? Or, those are all good things too. I mean, we do need to measure those. It does show growth as well. It isn't like it's a terrible thing to do that. But what if we also measured success by whether we're actively seeking the lost? Are we going out where people are that don't know the Lord? Are we seeking the missing? A seeking church just doesn't hope people will wander through the doors seeking a church where people are. I forgot his last name. Pastor Steve from Dirt Rose Network, he always had a great picture, especially for us in the rural community. He says, you've got your seed in the barn, right? And in the spring, you're ready to go out and plant it out in the dirt and the soil. Well, if we think of the seed as the seed of the gospel, we need to go out and plant it. We can't expect the dirt to show up. The dirt doesn't come to the barn for you to plant the seed. We need to go out and plant the seed. And that's what as a church body, we need to be doing, finding ways to get out to where that dirt is. So secondly, let's look at another aspect of the Good Shepherd, the shepherd who lifts. Isaiah 40:11 says, he will feed his flock like a shepherd. He will carry the lambs in his arms, holding them close to his heart. He will gently lead the mother sheep with their young. Now that's an amazing picture of a shepherd. And that verse is definitely a picture of a loving shepherd. We had sheep on our farm, and I don't remember ever doing that. I'm not a very loving shepherd, I guess. We had to take care of them, but in the spring, late winter, early spring, we always had lambs about end of January, February, because we needed them to be such a size for the fair. So I showed them at the fair. I did that for probably 10 years. I showed sheep at the Olmsted County Fair. And there was almost always a season. I mean, every season, there would be at least one orphan lamb or two. And so I would have to get up every 4 hours and bottle feed those lambs. And they were cute. Yes, they're adorable. But they didn't smell sweet. I mean, they're in the pen with a whole bunch of other sheep. And in the winter, you don't clean out those pens very good. You just keep piling up the manure. Piling up the straw so they can be in a decent place. So it wasn't a pleasant odor. It was just what it had to be. I mean, it was warm enough because they were all congregated together. But I seldom carried them anywhere. I mean, they just had to come to me. I had a bottle, they ran to me, and I took care of them. So as we look at those things, I was probably more the shepherd that would have just used the crook and pushed the thing. I wouldn't have went and carried it. But in this time period, and Jesus, he is one that carries the sheep. The shepherd carries us because he loves us. And in that carry position, there's an intimacy that tells that lamb that they are cherished and treasured and loved. So sometimes the sheep would wander so often, and this is something I discovered as I was preparing today, that a shepherd would actually break the lamb's leg, one of them. So and then that sheep he would wrap it up and bandage it, and he'd have to carry it around for quite a long time until it healed. And then they would bond together. so tightly that that one that used to wander all the time would not go anywhere without the shepherd. And we think that sounds terrible, but that was what they did. And even in human life, and even in life, we do that with children a lot. We don't break their legs. But um, as a foster parent, we had our 4 children that we ended up adopting, all were diagnosed with a thing called reactive attachment disorder. And one of them had it really bad. And what we had to do one season, her therapist was so good. She said, keep her with you all the time. And she was maybe 3rd, 4th grade by then. And make sure she's in the kitchen when you're working, have her on the counter. She should be in the room with you, unless she's sleeping, all the time. And after a year of that, it worked. She calls me on the phone now. She texts me. She got to the place where she felt like she belonged, finally. Because often children in foster care or in the county do have this because they're neglected so much as children. Reactive attachment disorder happens when there is not very much human contact when they're very small. And so they've learned, they're outwards to everybody else. They're very outgoing, very personable. People they never see that on them. But when they're at home, that's when you see this tension. And we had that a lot in our house. Like I said, the last 4 all had it. But she had it the worst. And it's just so good now to be able to have a relationship with her and to know that I'm one of the ones that she calls when something's going on instead of keeping me at a distance like it was for so long. And that does happen. And that's a hard story for us. Sometimes what feels like limitation is actually protection. Because I was protecting her. We were protecting them from making bad choices, bad decisions, helping them to realize that family was a safe place. And that happens with us sheep too. Sometimes it feels like when we're being carried, when we need carried, we're losing our independence. We're so independent. We can do it by ourselves, pick ourselves up by the bootstraps. And that isn't, God says, I want you to be dependent on me. And I'll let you do what you need to do. I'll give you the power and the strength to do that. The prophet Isaiah painted that beautiful picture. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. When you hold an infant, where do you carry it? When you really love it and you want to just snuggle with it, you carry it right up here, right? Close to your heart, so that they know that you love them, that you're there for them. And that's what it's saying, that he carries us intimately. He knows us intimately. He knows all about us. And as we follow Jesus and surrender to him, we will find that surrendering to the shepherd's care is the bravest and smartest thing that we can do. So as a person of faith and as somebody's following Jesus, when we have the carried life, you feel like you're allowing God to be the one in charge, taking care of you and giving you the strength you need. And it's okay to be carried. In fact, if you're struggling with that tension right now, you have my permission to let God carry you, because you need that we all need that at a time or two. Let Jesus lift you up. Let him hold you close to his heart. Don't shy away from spiritual intimacy with God. Take the time to really get to know him. Some of the deepest relationships with God are formed not when we're walking confidently, but when we really are struggling. That's when we learn to depend on him the most. What would it look like for you to help carry other people in your life? Sometimes it's literal. Sometimes we have to help people that have financial problems. Sometimes we have to help people that are struggling with just so many different things in our world and in our life. Maybe they're needing some food. Maybe they need some clothes. Maybe they need some gasoline or LP or whatever it is. That's, we need to, are you carrying anybody? Are you helping when you can? Are you helping somebody that's struggling emotionally or relationshiply, somebody that's feeling alone or depressed? Are you coming alongside? We need to be that person that's willing to sacrifice ourselves, our own time, for somebody else. Just like the shepherd sacrificed his time to go get that lamb. Take the time to do that. It's one of the most Christ-like things we can do. Come alongside somebody that needs help. What would it look like for our church to be known as a place that carries people? A church that helps to meet the needs, not a place that judges whether people are going fast enough or doing their thing, but a church that is ready to come alongside and help them take their next step. And that might mean, in fact, it will mean being patient with those sheep that wander off. It might mean creating space for those questions and those that are doubting and those that are struggling, and not tell them, well, you shouldn't think like that. Help them to know that it's okay. God's got good, big shoulders. He can handle pretty much everything we give him. So it's okay if we have questions. He invites them. He says, come, let us reason together. So let's do that. And it might mean just that we want to help measure our success by that people feel safe when they come, not judged, accepted. Thirdly, our shepherd is a shepherd who unites us. John 10:14-16 says, I am the good shepherd. I know my own sheep and they know me, just as my Father knows me and I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep too that are not in the sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. When Jesus spoke these words, he was talking to a Jewish audience, and when they heard, I have other sheep, they said, no, that can't happen, because we are the chosen people. Nobody else can be in the sheepfold. Nobody else can know God unless they become Jewish first. And they struggled with that. But sadly, the church has been had problems with that in the past, not just the people of Israel. I remember when we went to an Indian reservation quite a long time ago and started there. And we went there and we talked about why that school had closed that they had. And they said, well, mostly it was because that denomination had decided that all the kids should look and act like all the white people, Caucasians that came. They should act like them. They couldn't be themselves. They couldn't have their culture anymore. And that was wrong. And sadly, there was a mission mindset about that a long time ago, that Native Americans had to adapt North American, European customs to be Christians, which is ridiculous. But that was what we did. And so when we started to learn to appreciate everybody's differences and to recognize that those are all good things and that we can continue to grow together, the church, if you get to heaven and think everybody's going to be European, you're going to be very surprised, because it started out in the Middle East. So we're going to be probably a minority, actually. There's going to be a lot of other people up there. And we need to remember that we need to continue to grow. It challenged everything in their culture. Joseph said Jesus came to gather his flock, even the loud ones. And that means everybody that we think is different. And as we look at that, the human tendency, we tend to gather with each other and get a little cliquey, even in church. We talk to the same old friends all the time, and we forget to venture out and to invite and to encourage other people. But Jesus calls us to something bigger, a unity that's rooted in similarity, but that similarity is in him, not in our cultures, in our backgrounds. When we were in Jamaica, it was so much fun to be at a Wesleyan church there. We worked at 4 different Wesleyan churches when we were there. And we went to 2 services there, and the last one, well, both of them, Jamaican Wesleyan churches go about 2 hours, and about an hour of it is singing. I mean, it is music and dancing, and it is a blast. And we just had a great time, and they made us feel very comfortable. I mean, we had this row of people from, the North America conference of, this youth group that came in. And we didn't look like them. We didn't really dress like them. But they made us feel so welcome all the time. And it was so fun. One of the biggest things that I know y'all wouldn't like, at the end, the superintendent was there that day. And people were trying to leave on time. And he stood up and he said, nobody leaves till after I get done with this meeting. And I thought, whoa, a lot of them were waiting for rides. He goes, your rides will wait. And I thought, I don't think I could do that. Tell y'all to say if you didn't really want to. And I thought, but that was the culture. It's so much different. And we have to remember that if we're honest, like I said, the church hasn't always been the greatest at unity. So hopefully we are doing better. Jesus says that other sheep will listen to my voice, to his voice. Not necessarily to my voice, not to your voice, but to his voice. That's where our concentration is. That's our focus. My job is to help people hear the shepherd's voice, not make them sound like us. The united flock, how are you doing with diversity in God's family? Is it okay for our church to be messy? Because when you have people from all different walks of life, all different nationalities, all different cultures, it's going to be messy. Things are going to happen. And that's okay. It makes us richer and stronger and more beautiful because of the variety. Who are the other sheep in your circles? Are you inviting other people that look a little different, that you think might be different, have different cultures, different backgrounds? What would it look like for our church to actively pursue the kind of unity that Jesus was talking about? How welcoming are we to those who don't yet belong? Lastly, the shepherd who holds close. In Deuteronomy 33:27, it says, the eternal God is your refuge, and in his everlasting arms are under you. He drives out the enemy before you. He cries out, destroy them. He is our refuge, and we're in his everlasting arms. And that's a picture of Israel's God, who is radically different from any other God. Many of the other gods of that time period were mean, angry, had very little interaction with human beings. And if they did, it was to send out thunderbolts or something like that. It wasn't to love them because they wanted a relationship with them. God is the only one that says, I am your refuge. I want to have a personal relationship with you. He's eternal beyond all time, beyond space, beyond comprehension, but he's also underneath you, supporting you, holding you up, carrying your weight. Being held close to the shepherd means safety, but also means that you're not just tolerated, you're treasured. Think about it. When you hold something close, like I said earlier, it shows how much you love and care for them. It's something it's an intimate hold, and that's what Jesus' care is for us, his compassion. And as we continue to grow in him and walk with him, as we continue to allow his life and love to be in us, we become more and more like him. We lose basically our identity, and we have the identity of Jesus Christ. His compassion becomes our compassion. His love for others, his grace, his mercy, his patience becomes ours. And when somebody looks at you, we want them to see Jesus. I want them to see Jesus when they see me. And we want to be a good representative. So rest in that truth today. Let his love for you settle into all those places in your life that you're struggling to let go of, and let him take over. So how can you give others that gift of your attention and presence? Well, focus on them. In our distracted, hurried world, it's hard. Sometimes we're thinking about the next thing when we're talking to somebody. Just give them that time. Caring is spelled by T-I-M-E often, time. People just need to know they're heard. They know that you're there. Give them your attention. What would it look like if our church is known for that as well, that we are a people that values and treasures the people that come through the doors? This might mean prioritizing relationships over programs, depth over breadth, quality time over the speed of love and the speed of productivity. We need to be able to slow her down and give the time we need. Christmas is a story of the shepherd who became a sheep in order to seek us, to lift us up and unite us and hold us close to his heart. That's Jesus. That's a story. Life doesn't always look like a peaceful nativity scene. In fact, hardly ever. Only when we're all asleep. And even then, it don't always look that way. But when we wander off, the shepherd is there, looking for us and gathering us up. That's what Jesus does for us. He finds us in our wandering, and he lifts us up in our weakness, and he welcomes us back in our differences and holds us close to his heart. This Christmas, don't just picture yourself standing over the manger as an observer. Be Eli. Be that sheep that gets carried back and rescued. Picture yourself as that. The shepherd is looking for you. He knows your name. He knows all about you, and he loves you. And if you don't know him, if you haven't reached out to him, if you don't know him in that way, just talk to me or Jenny or a number of the other people here, and we'll help you to discover that relationship with Jesus Christ. Jenny's this one over here, in case you don't know who it is. Because not everybody knows who everybody is. But yes, make sure you talk to somebody, and we will help you to make that connection. We're going to pray now, and then we're going to have communion. And communion in the Wesleyan Church is open for anybody that believes in Jesus Christ. So it is an open communion, and we do ask that when you receive the elements that you would hang on to them, and we will all participate and have communion together. So I'm going to pray, and then our ushers will come up to receive the elements for the communion. Father God, thank you for sending your son. Thank you for sending your son, the Good Shepherd, first to be a sheep. We don't think of him that way very often, but he was very dependent. He was very helpless, and he was certainly not in a place of comfort when he came. Yet he came to live and grow and discover, to be able to show us he understands us. Thank you. Thank you that we have a high priest that understands all about us, that we have a shepherd that loves us, and that you continue to go after us when we get wandered off. And Lord, help us this week not to wander off so much. Help us to continue to be drawn close to you. Thank you for the day. Thank you for your word. In your name we pray.